Hello everybody, my name is Marlowe and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Survival where you join me in my local flower forest and it's kinda, what's the word for it? Small, like really small. Certainly not big enough for the plans that I have in today's episode. We are gonna need something that is a little bit larger. You see, I really like to use flowers in my builds. They are a wonderful decorative item. The trouble is, with the exception of these two high flowers, they're kind of tricky to get hold of in high quantities. So today we're going to be building a flower farm house. A flower farm and a flower farm house. It's a two-in-one deal. As I've already said, this biome isn't exactly big enough, nor is the terrain really suited to what I want to make today. Thankfully, I have found a flower forest biome that is big enough and has some pretty cool terrain. The only trouble is, it's very, very far away. Thankfully, I have something that can get me there pretty quick. I wonder if this is what it feels like to be an airplane. Oh no, now I'm an airplane in a thunderstorm, that's never good. It's okay though, because we have arrived. And I'm also going to go to bed. Please let me go to bed. Oh, thank you. Ah, there we go. A lot more peaceful around here now. So before we get started with the building, I just need to explain where I'm getting my inspiration from today. And that is from the main man himself, BOO, one of my favorite creators. A few years ago, he made some flower fields in an episode of Building with BOO, and ever since I saw this build, I've been wanting to do something very similar. It's mainly just the idea of having a large area completely filled with a bunch of bright, vibrant, and colourful flowers. So that's the inspiration done. If you want to check out B-Dub's video where he built the flower fields, there's going to be a link to that down in the description. But now, let's talk about my plan. So as I said, I want to build a flower farm house, which is actually going to go at the very top of this hill. This hill right here, which is actually too big at the moment. We're going to have to do some terraforming to shape it a little bit better, but the idea is right at the top is going to be my farmhouse, and then surrounding it, kind of circling around the build down the hill, we're going to have layers of different flower types. I'm thinking I'm just going to use the two high flower types and not do the small flowers like B-Dubs did. These, until I have my flower farm, as I mentioned earlier, are going to take a little while to get hold of. So I think it's going to be better if we just stick to the two high flowers. Peonies, lilacs, rose bushes, and sunflowers, which, come to think of it, might be a little bit of a problem. As you can see, all of these sunflowers face the same direction, which is east, the way the sun rises, and I want to build the farmhouse kind of facing this direction. So if we're flying in from this point with the house facing forward, all of the sunflowers are going to be pointing over here. So I'm not sure how that is going to look. Maybe we will end up using the smaller flowers too, but for now I'm going to stick to the two high ones. Well, without further ado, let's get started with the terraforming. Step 1, build a beacon. Step 2, chop down the trees. Step 3, terraform. It may not have seemed like it, but that last time-lapse you just watched was nearly 2 hours long. I don't think I really did all of this in the most efficient way possible. But it's alright, because in the end we got it done and I've ended up with this. Now, I don't really have a good vantage point, so we're going to have to keep flying back and forth here, but as you can see, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 sections. On this top section is where the house is going to go. The next section down is going to be a 2-high flower. Same for this one, and this one over here. And the final flower is going to go on this level. We do have 2 more smaller sections in the very front here, which we can either leave blank, build some custom trees here, or make some smaller flower fields using the 1-high flowers. You may also notice we are now facing east, which of course means we get to use our sunflowers. Those over there, they'll be facing towards the front, because down here is going to be the entranceway leading up to the farmhouse. I'm thinking we build some sort of path kind of winding through all of the fields here, leading up to the very top. Could be pretty cool. I'll be completely honest with you guys, I haven't really thought too much about how we're going to do any of this. I'm kind of making it up as we go along here. But I have got a vague image in mind, and we've always got B-dubs flower fields to use as a reference. The main thing we need is the farmhouse at the top and lots of flower fields. And I'm just trying to think whether I want to work on the flower fields first or the farmhouse first. In fact, we're going to do neither. We are going to build the walls that'll section off each of the fields from each other. I've just come into my creative world here so I can pick between the two options that I've got at the moment. I would do this in my survival world, but I don't really have the resources on me, and as you know, it's a long way back home. Okay, this is a very bad example because it's on a super small scale. Obviously ours is going to be a lot bigger, but here's option 1. It's basically having some bushes in between them all, so sectioning each layer off with a 2-high bush using some oak leaves. And then here's option 2, using some cobblestone walls. Obviously this will have a little bit more texture and other blocks involved, but you get the idea. Personally, I'm thinking we go for the second option with the cobblestone. Again, really small scale, so it looks kind of weird, but I think overall this is going to be the best choice in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to work on now, outlining all of these different layers with that cobblestone wall, and then afterwards we can start work on actually planting the flowers and building the farmhouse at the top. These rapid time lapses are getting out of hand. I know it may not have seemed like it, but I was placing blocks for nearly an hour. Very, very repetitive stuff. You could probably make it out from the time lapse, but basically I went round with all of my full cobblestone blocks, then I mixed in the stairs, the slabs and the walls, and after that I had to mix in the mossy cobblestone. But of course that was done one at a time, so I'd go around with my full blocks, then with the walls, then with the stairs, then with the slabs. Basically I have been running rings around this place for nearly an hour, and I'm very glad we're done. And to think, I was considering adding more texture and other blocks into this wall. I'm now very happy I decided not to do that, otherwise I'd probably still be going. Maybe it is a little bland with just the mossy cobblestone and the regular cobblestone, but I think once we've got our flowers in place, you shouldn't really be able to see it all that much. Speaking of flowers, I think it's time to go and gather some. First of all though, I have to work out how many flowers I'm gonna need for each of these levels. I can't think of a better way to do it, so, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, wait, did I? Hang on. 1, 2, I'm just gonna get a lot of flowers and hopefully it'll be enough. Okay, if a shulker box of every single flower isn't enough, I'm going to be shocked. And by the way, if you're wondering what gathering all of those flowers look like, well, here you go. Yeah, lots and lots of particles. So we've got all of our flowers. I think whilst I'm back here at home base, I might just gather up the rest of my supplies, then we can head back over and continue building. My shulker boxes are moved over and I am ready to go. We're going to be building the farmhouse, placing the flowers, and also adding in a pathway going right up through the middle. Isn't this just glorious? I absolutely love the bright and vibrant colors of all of these flowers. It feels really, really magical. Of course, I had a pretty good idea of what this was going to look like because I'm using B-dubs as inspiration, and it's very, very similar, but seeing it here in the game, yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I was a little bit worried it might look kind of weird, but I personally really, really like it. One thing you may notice is these two sections at the front are without flowers, and that's because I just don't have enough of the little ones to fill out this whole spot. That's gonna have to wait until towards the end of the video once we have our actual flower farm built. And of course, how could I forget the farmhouse at the end? As you can see, I went for a very, very overgrown look on this build. We've got lots of texture in the roof as well as all of the walls too. There's actually a little bit of a gradient, although it's kind of hard to tell with all of the leaves placed everywhere. We're pretty much going from moss to moss with glow lichen on, and then to mossy cobblestone, all the way up to regular cobblestone. It's a very nice gradient, I really like it. It's just, yeah, kind of hard to see, but that's okay. And yes, I'm well aware this is maybe too much leaf action going on. There are quite a lot of them placed down, but I think it really suits this build that we're doing, and I like it, so I'm going to be keeping it that way. I hope you guys like it too, though. As you can see, we have quite a lot of open green space around this farmhouse. It will not be staying like that. Same deal as these two spaces at the end. We're going to be using some smaller flowers, which I just don't really have access to right now. But it will definitely be changing at some point. Anyway, the next step is to complete the interior, because as you can see, it is very much so unfinished in here. So allow me to super quickly whip something up. So here's the interior, nothing too special. One thing I did just want to highlight is our deep windows here. I'm not sure why, but I really love them. Having the two thick walls with the window block placed back by one, it's kind of cool, isn't it? So over here is where I'm planning to store all of my flowers, and you may notice there are 11 barrels in total. And that's because, minus the 2 high flowers, I thought that there were 11 flowers that grew here in the flower forest in total. But I think I'm wrong. As you can see, I have these 8 types, and they are all over the floor in this biome. However, there are 3 that I thought were super common here, but I cannot find them at all. Cornflowers, dandelions, and poppies. No way. Oh my... Okay, I'm not doing this as a joke. I genuinely didn't see these behind me here. The cornflower still stands though. I can't find the cornflower anywhere. Oh, that's embarrassing. I'm gonna keep it in though. Yeah, I was running around this biome for a good 5 minutes. Couldn't see the poppies or dandelions anywhere, but I still cannot find the cornflowers. I'm just gonna assume that they do grow here, and I'll place a barrel for it anyway. Aha, this is what I'm looking for. Thank you. I will be needing one of those. And pop, in you go. Awesome. Okay, we got all of the interior fully done now. All we have left to do really is build the actual flower farm. I hope you guys weren't thinking that we were just going to build some tiny little flower farm, because we have gone much, much bigger. So believe it or not, this is actually my own design. I created all of this myself because I looked online for some other flower farms and they were just too small for my needs. Now the reason why this flower farm is so massive is so that I can guarantee I'm going to be able to farm every single flower type. Yes, I'm going to get an insane amount of them, probably too many. That part is definitely overkill, but the whole reason why I'm taking up so much space here is, like I said, just to make sure we're going to be able to bone meal. I just broke my scaffolding. Oh, it's okay, I'll place it back. So I can bone meal every single flower type and actually be able to farm all 11, I think it was. In theory, that is. I haven't actually tested it, but every single grass block you can see all the way back there is in the flower forest biome. So I'm going to be really, really shocked if we're not getting at least one patch of every flower. So without further ado, let's commence test number 1. And hopefully the last test, because I think this should work fine. Fingers crossed. So we flick the lever and stuff hopefully should be happening. There we go, we have some water dispense, that's fine. That's just it kicking up into gear. We get all of the bone meal, and then shortly after we get the water, and as soon as the water goes, we get more bone meal with more flowers, and it basically just does this until I run out of bone meal. And all of the drops get put into this pipe and make their way to the end, where I'm just going to stand and collect them all. So far, I'm not liking the look of this, if I'm gonna be completely honest. We're only getting 1, 2, 3, 4 flower types. That kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually really quite disheartened by that. I really thought that I'd be able to get at least one of every flower, but I'm not even close. We're not even halfway. I should probably explain, because some of you may not understand how flower mechanics work in this game. Basically, when you're in a flower forest biome in this example, each block will have the chance to generate a certain type of flower. So for instance, there's a white tulip there. There will never ever be a pink tulip, for example. It's always going to be the white tulip or grass or nothing, I'm pretty sure. So I thought with the massive area we have here and it being pretty spread out and rather long, we would be able to cover at least a patch of every single flower, but obviously I was wrong. But it's okay, because the main purpose of today's episode was to create these beautiful, colourful, rolling hills of flowery goodness, and we have definitely achieved that. Well, almost. We have the 3 remaining fields we need to fill out with some flowers. Now obviously, I don't have much of a choice on which flowers I have a lot of, so I'm either gonna have to stick to the ones I have or just go and handpick them from the wild. Either way, I will catch you guys up once I'm finished with this. You know, I really thought we were going to be ending off today's episode on a bit of a sad note. With the farm not really working as expected, it felt very anticlimactic, but I'm glad to say, with the flower fields now done, that is not the case. Is this not just the prettiest thing you have ever laid your eyes on? I could honestly stare at this all day and walk back and forth between my little farmhouse there and the entrance down at the bottom. All of this just feels super duper magical, and I absolutely love how it turned out. And we're not going to be talking about whatever is underneath that farmhouse, because I'm probably not going to use it that much. So as you can see at the bottom here, we went for some oxeye daisies. I have quite a lot of them from the farm, so they were no trouble. And on the slightly smaller area over here, I decided to go for alliums. These are, it's my custom texture. It's meant to look a little bit like a lavender flower. I really love this one. I love the colors and everything. And there was quite a lot of patches around this flower forest, so this wasn't too bad to get hold of either. And last but not least, up by the actual farmhouse, I just went for all of the tulip types mixed in with some grass blocks. So there we go, everybody. That is gonna have to do it for today's episode. I really hope you've enjoyed watching. Thank you ever so much for doing that, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.